To get a better understanding of Chinese-Saudi relations and what each side hopes to accomplish, I'm joined by He Wenping in Beijing. She's a research fellow at the Institute of West Asian and African Studies. Thank you so much for joining us. What is your impression of President Xi's trip to Saudi Arabia? There were a lot of expectations, especially in regard to trade and investment. Do you think those expectations were met?
Well, yes, I think those expectations can be met. You see, Saudi is the biggest oil supply to China, so they also need the huge market from China for absorbing the oil export, and for China, same vice versa. So apart from that, this is the traditional our bilateral economic relation. But now these relations go beyond further with this resources relationship. So now China, as people knows, we have developed a strategy called One Belt, One Road. So I think Saudi is the leading power in the Middle East, and the Middle East is the very important juncture place for China to develop this One Belt, One Road initiative. So, and also I think for Saudi, they also want to engage with China with more investment on their manufacturing industry and also aviation industry, communication industry. So they want to diversify the economy. Ever since this year, they will develop a 5-year development plan. So the main purpose of this 5 years development plan is to diversify their economy, because they are now themselves are suffering so much from this very low oil prices. So they are facing huge deficit for their budget. So that's something China can meet their demand. And apart from that, if we think about this geographical situation, now I think with this nuclear deal with Iran has been implemented. Days ago, the implementation day was kicked off. So with the sanction lift on Iran and Iran's national image and its regional regional influence now has been both improved in that region. So for Saudi, they think they have been felt they have been marginalized somehow. They also felt they have been have a quite distance away with the United States. So that's why I think Saudi would like to invite another power outside this region to be that Middle East and to counter the influence given by the United States. So I think that's a balanced checking and point. So for Iran, they have the same desire. So that's the thing, because even though those two countries, they have some rows recent weeks, they have been cutting ties with each other. But I think because China hasn't been taking sides with each of them, we haven't involved with any regional issue. That gives China a very special advantage.
Well, I want to ask you, I do want to ask you about that. You mentioned Saudi Arabia and Iran, and the timing of President Xi's visit to the Middle East. You mentioned the heightened tensions, violence in the region. Do you think President Xi could be a possible peacemaker here? Could Beijing influence dialogue and stability in the region?
Yes, I think President Xi can play this role, being a mediator. We have enjoyed good relations with both of the country, Iran and Saudi, and we have been taking impartial and objective and neutral policy for a long time. Even in the Syria war, Syria crisis, and in the crisis of the Yemen war, those two wars in the region, I think China hasn't got involved in. Not like United States, back the Syria opposition party, and like Russia, they are backing the Bashir government in Syria. But China has been, not involved with any of them. So this impartial and relatively neutral policy can offer China a very good advantage to be a mediator. So I think President Xi definitely will discuss those issues with his colleagues in the counterparts in the Saudi and also in Iran, I think the thing he needs to do is to call the two parties to sit down and to negotiate a way through their disputes. I think this is the thing China can do to ease the tension in the area rather than to build on the tensions in that place.
We are in the first month of the new year, and President Xi Jinping already has 3 Middle Eastern countries on the agenda. He's traveled to pretty much every region in the world since he's become president. What does this say about China on the world stage?
Yes, President Xi has been traveling all over the world. So this time around, the Middle East will be another place he hasn't been visited when he took the office. So with this trip, now we can see his footsteps almost all the continent. So I think through all those trips and the diplomatic activities he has done, so we can see that now the China is going to play more and more active role in all those international affairs. Even in the Middle East, this is the place that China has been absent for quite a long time. So because China, with its economic power being built on, and now he has to take more responsibility for the international issues. So otherwise, this international responsibility cannot fit with its economic might. So I think this is anyhow, this is a good intention. And also because China has long insisting on a policy called non-interference, other countries' domestic issue. And China has been long calling for peaceful resolution for all those conflicts going on in the world. So those policies, I think, has given China a new leverage to playing his constructive role when it deals with those international hot issues. So hopefully this kind of a new active approach can bring more active power to the international arena.